We're going? Oh man, we're live. Episode number 2, the first one of 2025. How are you guys feeling about the new year?
I'm game for the new year. I basically hate the 26th through the 1st. I want those days to be wiped off the calendar. I just can't wait for the new year. So I try to enjoy the time with the family and the kids and all that after Christmas. But really, I'm just wanting to crawl into a hole until after the 1st.
Well, you had a good Christmas this year, didn't you? Tell us about it. The whole family did.
We had a good Christmas. We had a good Christmas at the house. It was after Christmas. My sister, her family, they live in Wichita, Kansas, about 4.5 hour drive from here. So
shout out Jenny.
Shout out Jenny and Colin. So we all loaded up in a big SUV. My mom and dad and all 6 of us got in the car together, drove to Wichita on Friday. 4 of us got the flu on Saturday and drove home sick on Monday. So
that's awesome.
Great time.
Lovely.
Great time. They were really appreciative that we all showed up with the flu. My brother-in-law Colin, who's a germaphobe, bless him, he spent a lot of time golfing and playing tennis.
It's not the worst way to spend time away from the family.
I would have done it too. Yeah.
What about you, Jordan? What'd you do?
We got sick as well.
We're the only ones who didn't get sick. I guess the boys were sick.
See, and had those days not been on the calendar, none of us would have gotten sick.
Exactly. That's
no opportunity.
Yeah,
it's true.
Yeah. Yeah. Where'd you guys go? Did you guys do anything?
No, we just stayed at my parents' house the whole time, and everybody was fine. And then 2 days later, my parents get sick, and I woke up sick. Girlfriend's family's sick. Lovely. It's just been still dealing with it.
You guys had a mix of the respiratory stuff, right? And then, Brian, you guys had stomach flu and respiratory?
My mom and my littlest Eleanor had stomach stuff, but the rest was just fever, chills, respiratory. Nasty.
Yeah. Jordan's still recovering from it.
Yep. Day 17.
It's the government.
Still coughing.
It's the government, yeah. It's the spike proteins. Mm-hmm. You were up with a cough? Were you up with a cough?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Brooke said she was up till 1 a.m. last night coughing, so she's got whatever's going around.
Mine's better than it was. I was having some pretty nasty coughing fits.
You sounded like shit when you came back to work.
Yeah, it was bad.
Yeah. And then you went down and competed in Oklahoma City.
Yeah.
How'd that go?
It was okay. First workout was pretty rough. About 7 minutes in, lungs caught on fire. Started constricting, so I couldn't breathe very well. Walked off the floor after the event, got dizzy, just because you can't recover.
Yeah.
It was pretty rough. But then after that, it seemed like everything mellowed out. So the cough's not bad in the workout. It's post-workout when you just start hacking up a lung.
Yeah.
Because that dry, cold air is not good for...
No, every time I walk outside, it amplifies it exponentially. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So it's the opposite for adults. If you go out in the cold air, it doesn't help the cough? Because you're supposed to take babies out in the cold.
And that sounds made up.
It's supposed to constrict their lungs or their airway, so it suffocates the cough. That's the second time I've heard that this week.
Really? Yeah. I heard a tablespoon of honey helps too.
All this stuff sounds made up.
It's not. If our producer over here had his computer, he could just Google it and let us know. But
why don't we?
It's all true. You guys didn't use it the first time. You lost your computer privileges.
He's mad because I forgot to bring up the RFK video, so he's holding it against me.
So we have no research.
Yeah. He'll just do it from his phone, right? Yeah. Well, we are into the new year, so I think it's probably pretty obvious we talk about this. I already called that I know Jordan's answer to this question. We'll get to him after you, but are you a New Year's resolutioner type of guy? If I had to guess, probably not.
No, I'm not I don't say hey, on the 1st, I'm going to do this. We do goal setting, even as a family. We sit down and what are your goals? What do we want to accomplish? What do we kind of, as a family, what are we wanting to do? And individually, but it's, we air them out, write them down. And I had a few. Not all of them.
He didn't write them down.
No, not all of them want to discuss. The one thing for me that has to do kind of with us and around here and stuff is Tyler. We go down rabbit holes on politics and on what's going on in the world and that's probably it's kind of just a negative feedback loop for me, and I recognizing it is only part of the problem and then changing it. So what I did is I went on my Spotify and I took off any kind of political news, all that shit that's going on around me that I can't control. I got rid of all of them, and I replaced it either with stuff in nutrition, workout, supplement in our industry, or in business and how to, like kind of business self-improvement, all mindset stuff, and just kind of went back to what I was doing 10 and 15 years ago when I was first kind of starting a business and getting going, and thought like just being real mindful of what I'm feeding myself throughout the day and on my drives and stuff, and instead of getting pissed in the car because what the fuck are we doing in Ukraine, all this, like, well, I'm running a supplement company. Well, I
Right.
it sucks. There's nothing I can do about it, but we have 20 employees here that I need to be mindful of, and I need to have my mind set on what's going to help them out and help us be successful here and put food on the table at home. And so that was kind of a refocus is what I decided to do. I did it before. I was kind of just a thought. I think you have thoughts of the new year and what you're going to do. So as soon as I kind of recognize, I'm like, okay, delete. I listened to a couple just enjoyable podcasts, I think, over the Christmas break, like kind of binge, get a little, a little last minute feed, and then do away with it. Got some new books, some new audio books, and away we go.
Yeah.
So there's too much going on here, too much important things going on here to have my mind somewhere else.
Yeah. We're the complete opposite in that regard. For whatever reason, it's relaxing for me to listen to that stuff because I know I can't control it. So I just kind of like to know what's going on. It's more like a learning thing. I just like to learn about that stuff.
Yeah.
But
I thought you just watched porn.
no. Mom, Dad, Brooke, no. What about you, Jordan? You got any New Year's resolutions? Are you that type of guy?
Nope.
No goals, nothing?
I have goals. I just don't think
You
New
don't
Year's
reset.
resolutions are a good thing. And the reason being is because they call the second Friday of January the Quitter's Day, because 95% of resolutions always end by the second Friday
I
in
was going
January.
to ask that. Has anybody looked up what the percentage of resolutions that are kept is? 95%.
It's
We
up
could.
in the 90s.
in 2 weeks?
It's
How do you
crazy.
think about it? How many
People are weak. It doesn't surprise me.
How many
Yeah.
people you see in the gym the first week, and then by week 3 it's a desolation.
Yeah.
I know it's easy to call people weak and all that stuff, but what do you think the deeper issue is that causes people to quit like that?
No, I think people are weak.
Weak.
I mean, mental.
It's hard.
It's discipline.
It's hard. Mental weakness. And here's the thing too. Like if you've done it before, right? If you've had a resolution before and you've quit before, quitting on yourself is a disease.
Mm-hmm.
Like that like giving up and giving yourself a pass, whether it's I promise I'm going to do 4 workouts a week, and the second it's Friday, right? You started your week on Saturday, whatever, and you've had 3 workouts and you decide, I'll do 4 next week, or I'll make it up and do 5. Like, you lost that battle, you gave up on yourself, and that's a habit too. Quitting is a habit, it's a disease, and I think if you want to prevent that, the problem is it gets easier. So I do think people, their consistency and their discipline is their biggest problem. It is a sign of weakness.
Yeah, but that begs the question: what do you do to help people like that out? What
They need to change their mindset, because I feel
agree.
like they believe resolutions are attainable really fast.
Yeah. Well,
But
one thing
it's
we've
just
talked
not.
about here is just the idea of thinking about doing something satisfies that itch that you're going to do it.
Mm-hmm.
And then when it actually comes time to do something actionable, you don't. And you kind of start that negative feedback again of, okay, I'll start again, like you were talking about.
Did you guys see Christine's post probably like a month ago of the games training mindset of like new people coming into CrossFit saying like, I'm going to train for the games? Did you see that whole
No.
thing? So like what comes to mind on New Year's resolutions is kind of what she had said, is these new people coming to CrossFit, seeing the CrossFit games and being like, I want to do that. And so they walk into the gym and they're like, yeah, I'm training for the games. Well, it's like, how about first you train for the open?
Right.
Because in order to get to the CrossFit games, you have to go through the open. Then it was quarterfinals, then semis in the games. Now it's open, semis, sanctioned event if you're going individual, then the
You're
games.
setting the target so far out of reach for the condition you're in, it's impossible to get.
Right.
Because if you're training for the games, I know my wife did it,
Mm-hmm.
and she's training. Even at first, I think I told you this. At first, it's but you should do that. Like you encouraging her and stuff. And I did, but it's also like you're training 4.5 hours a day. And that's not
5 days a week,
5 days a week.
sometimes 6.
And then the recovery and all the other stuff that goes with it. Like,
That's that's the thing is
So
they
much
don't
time.
see one, the time you have to put into it, but the financial sacrifices,
Right.
or the fact that I haven't gone to any of my family's like events or functions or whatever else because I have to train, or I've been invited to go do things with my buddies and I'm like, hey guys, sorry, I'm going to be in the gym till 9. And this has been every day for the last 5 years, but they don't see that. They come in with like this, oh, if I just do 2 workouts a day, I'm going to make it eventually. It's like, no, that's not how it works. And then they get burnt out because they bit off more than they could chew, or they didn't understand the actual like effort that goes into chasing this dream, and they end up quitting. And then they turn around and they bash the sport because it didn't work. Right. Well, it's like, it's not that it didn't work. You went about it wrong.
Super unrealistic expectations.
And that's why, like, for me, I think New Year's resolutions I don't like them because my goals take longer than a year to reach. Like, I've been chasing the games for 5 years now. I'm still not there.
Right.
If I made a New Year's resolution, okay, 2025 is it, and I don't make it, then what? Am I just going to quit in 26?
Yeah.
So my resolution is like, I want to be better than last year. How do I do that? I just keep my head down and keep going.
Right.
Yeah.
It's the consistency. What about how often do you see people that do come in like first year that do have the realistic ability to reach? Maybe not the games, but get pretty close. Are there people out there?
There are people out there. I mean, you can see the kids fresh out of high school who are college or like football players or basketball players who had college offers, decided not to go because of money or whatever. You can see like, okay, you're really athletic. If you would just like put your nose to the grindstone for 2 years, 3 years, like you could get really good.
Yeah.
But then a lot of times you see those same kids and they fizzle out in a couple months because either they don't want to pay for it anymore or whatever.
Yeah.
So I don't know. We don't see it a whole lot at 417, just because all the athletes that are good enough right now have been doing it for
a while.
I'm on year 11 of CrossFit now. Like games training, this is year 5.
Yeah.
So
people talk about like everyone has that person, those people you have known either currently or throughout your life that they call like, you can call them like flaky people, right? Like all plans are, I'm just not you, but for example, like all plans are soft with Tyler until he actually shows up because you don't know, you can't get a straight answer. You can't like it's just they're kind of Johnny come lately people and stuff. That's one thing, but there's certain people in your life that you don't let down. There's certain people in your life, whether it's hopefully a spouse, parent, hopefully everybody, right? There's certain people like you have too much respect for them to let them down, to show up late, to not be there, to not do as promised, right? And the core group of people around you, that's the way it should be. It should be that, like I said, that way with everybody. The problem is people don't carry those same promises to themselves.
Yeah.
They don't have that same respect for themselves. If they say they're going to do something, and this is just for you, it's too easy to quit on yourself sometimes. And there's not an appropriate amount of shame it comes back to self-discipline, but you should hate quitting on yourself just as much as you do something else.
Right.
And I think for parents, for like, there's other people watching too. So it's not always just for you. But quitting on yourself is just as bad as quitting on your team or anybody else.
Yeah.
And you should have that accountability to make yourself better.
Right. Yeah. They always say the worst person you can lie to is yourself.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of that going on.
Right.
And I think when you're using, you want to go to the games or something like that as your goal, something that comes with that is you have to sit down and really be introspective with yourself, look at your flaws, look at why do I quit all these things, or why do I struggle with these things that keep me from reaching my goals. If you can identify those issues, it might make it a little bit easier, but it's harder to do that. Mm-hmm. Self-reflection and figuring out, I fall off the bandwagon on my nutrition because of X, Y, and Z, or I don't plan. Like, you really got to get into the minute details of why you're failing. And a lot of people don't even want to look at themselves in the mirror like that.
If it's important to you, like, it should be painful.
Right.
It should be extremely painful. Like, that's a good thing. Like, you can have a loss and feel terrible. And you should feel terrible. You know, I use this in a sport. Like, people lose, they take it awfully. Like, pick yourself up. Like, don't feel bad. Everybody, like, no, you should feel fucking awful about a loss. And if it's something where it's a loss because you promised yourself you would do something and you missed a day, you missed a week, you should feel terrible, and you should use that feeling to motivate yourself to not let it happen again. I'm not going to let it happen. I'm not going to let myself down again. Just like if it was your spouse, babe, I let you down. I'm not going to do that. I'm not being a good partner. I'm not being a good friend to you. It's the same is true to yourself. And too many times people, it doesn't hurt to let yourself down. You know, you let yourself off the hook way easier than you let someone else off the hook. You know, and if that's your MO and that's what you get used to, like I said, it becomes too easy to let yourself down.
Yeah, I definitely think in this industry and people like us that have, you know, that take the fitness and all that stuff super serious, our nutrition and whatnot, we sometimes forget the people that aren't in this and how hard it is to dig yourself out of these holes and to really self-reflect on that type of stuff. But a lot of it's a lack of education and where to start too. Mm-hmm. You know, who do you trust? Because there's so much stuff out there, and there's a lot of, you know, diet zealots, training zealots, and stuff like that. Where, you know, if carnivore works for you, great, but it's not a secret weapon for everybody who comes underneath you. Mm-hmm. And so, you know, if you're looking for coaches or mentors or anything like that to help you with that stuff, I think a good place to start is if they're actually going to have you do some self-reflection, and they're really going to help you nail down on why you fail at certain things, really dig deep down into that stuff. That's going to help you recognize those triggers or those spots where you start to fail so you can stop it right there. But you've really got to be alert and really in tune with yourself. And a lot of people that start out with this stuff, they're not. Mm-hmm. And that's why they fail a lot. And they get back into that negative feedback loop of all that stuff, the negative emotions, whatever it is. It could be as simple as, you know, if you get home at the end of the day and you binge eat, why do you come home and binge eat every day? Is it because you don't have your meals prepped, or you're not eating often enough? All that stuff that goes into it. So if you were going to give somebody advice, a New Year's resolutioner, on where to start, what would you tell them? God,
I'm the wrong person to ask. I'm not.
Let's say you were trained like a training client, like back in the day.
Yeah, I wouldn't get at the mental part of it either, because I have a hard I have a hard time relating to it. And this is not that I execute at a high level everything I do, but when it comes to the discipline of I mean, you're taking care of yourself,
right?
You know, and
the hard part is getting people to see that for themselves, though.
Right.
That's the biggest hurdle to get.
Well, I think a lot of people, I want to lose weight. I want to get in shape. Well, shit, I want a lot of things. I want to win the lottery. But I'm not buying any lottery tickets, you know. Well, the first problem is going to take care of a lot of itself easier if you go buy some lottery tickets. But that's maybe a bad example, because the odds of doing that are pretty slim. But the odds of improving yourself, just saying I really want to do this, it doesn't mean shit. Like you have to have not just a plan. Like, well, you know, you write the plan down, you execute. Like, not just a plan. It has to be like a guarantee. Like, this year I'm not. This is the goal, but I forget what the goal is. Here's what I'm going to do to reach the goal. And if I do these 3 things, whatever it is, right? If I eat my body weight in protein, you know, grams per 1 pound of body weight a day. If I go for a 20-minute walk in the morning, and I do at least 20 minutes of resistance training, could be push-ups, body weight squats, lunges. Everybody knows how to do these things. It takes no equipment. If you just did that, and your goal was to get in better shape, to lose 20 pounds, you'd be pretty unstoppable. You know, it's a pretty simple formula to do those 3 things. You'd be pretty add in, you know, I'm gonna go to bed by 10 o'clock at night. I'm gonna give myself at least 7 hours of sleep every night. Those are all very actionable things you can do, but then it comes back to the discipline and promising yourself and the follow through. Right. But if it's they call it your unnegotiable, non-negotiables. These are my non-negotiables. I'm sorry, I can't go out tonight. I have to do this. You can make it pretty foolproof. Yeah. And so that's what I would say. Don't just, a New Year's resolution, if that's what you want to call it, isn't something you want to do. It's the things you're telling yourself and believing, like, this is who I am. This is what I'm going to do now. and just like Jordan's talking about working every day, like it's not something he wants to do or something. Like he honestly would probably feel like shit if he didn't do it. It's there's no question in his mind if is today a workout day. There's nothing that's going to come up, okay, barring a family emergency, that's going to prevent you from getting that work in, because it's already in your day. You could have a crazy day here. You could have things. It could be 8:00 at night. You'd be right back here in the gym doing something.
Yep.
Because that's the plan. You have to, because that's what I told myself I was going to do.
Right. Yeah.
And there's always something in everybody's life that they adhere to like that. You know, if it's like you feed your kids every day, you know, and maybe it's not the best home cooked meal, everything you plan to, but you make sure the kids eat.
Yeah.
And if you make yourself the same promise, I promise I will do something before the day's over to get myself in shape to do this. Like, you'll do it.
Yeah. When you were training clients back in the day, did you have transformation type people that wanted to lose a bunch of weight, or was it, I just want to get a little bit more fit, I want to add muscle? Like, what was maybe the hardest client that you had to help?
So we did everything from sports performance with athletes to just general lifestyle, want to stay in shape, busy corporate, people in medicine and stuff, that a big part of the MTS, the business, is like, we always say, we'll take the thinking out of it. If you just show up, we'll make sure you get a good workout in, right? Just show up, we'll make sure you get a good, we did meal plans and stuff. But the hardest client I think any trainer has, or can be the hardest client anyone has, is a weight loss client, because you usually didn't get overweight overnight. This is something that takes years or an entire lifetime of getting overweight. So you have these very ingrained, difficult habits to break. You can't not eat, right? You're gonna have to change the food you eat. It's not like you're gonna quit smoking, you just go cold turkey, So that's the hardest person, because there's always your body always wants to fight and have that homeostasis, right? So weight loss isn't getting, hey, congrats, you lost 20 pounds this month. Well, you lost the weight temporarily. If you revert back to, okay, now I lost it, and you go back. So the long-term commitment is very hard for people. It's hard for me. It's hard for anybody, until it becomes like, this is who I am. This is who I now believe I am. And weight loss is always the hardest. And you see, this is endemic. And kind of the odds are stacked against you, for wanting to lose weight, because there's such convenient foods, and they're all highly palatable, very processed, and all that's true. But also, there's a way to do it. And it's kind of, if you fall down, you got to keep going. You got to keep trying. You got to promise yourself you're going to get off. So it can be done. But certainly weight loss for me sticks out as like, man, I've had clients that have lost over 100 pounds. I've had several clients that have lost over 100 pounds. And unfortunately, I've seen some of those people since, and they've gained it all plus some back too. You like, as a trainer, you feel that one, like, did I fail them? Did I, what could I have done differently?
Yeah, for sure.
You feel sad because you personally witnessed all the sweat, all the hard work. You know what they put into it, and they have the tools now in their mind to do it, but they didn't have the willpower to stick to it. And that's a sad thing to see someone give up on themselves. How
much of that? Well, you got to think a lot of it has to do with habits, because I do think it's one thing to have somebody you're accountable to, like the trainer, the nutritionist, but if you're not teaching them good habits, they're destined to fail if they leave you. If you see those people again, it's like, what habits did they learn? Did they get lazy and just quit doing it? Was it a lack of willpower, discipline? It's tough because there's a lot of psychological stuff going on. You can only do so much for a person. I remember clients doing nutrition plans for them, and man, we'd be sitting down for like just check-ins, like an hour at a time, and they'd be crying.
Yeah,
because they'd be having
tears,
such issues. They were struggling with this, or they felt like a failure because they didn't do this. But looking back now, I wish I would have had a better understanding of this, of diving into their day, understanding what are their triggers that get them to fall off. Did they have an argument with a coworker, a spouse, or whatever it is, and then you get in that mood, and you're like, fuck it, I'm going to go.
Food's your drug, and you go to it.
Yeah. So it's very psychological in helping those people out, but not everybody does that, and it's hard to get them to realize that. So again, it kind of comes back to that self-reflection, but you can help people self-reflect in that regard too.
Yeah, it's tough. It's easy to say, we'll find a new drug, if
Ozempic.
Yeah, I was thinking like workouts and hey, you go for a walk outside and inevitably you feel better, instead of going through a drive-through. But I should be very fair and honest. Like that's never been my drug or my comfort is food. So when you talk about the mental aspect and stuff, I understand it's and I had a very good education like growing up. My dad owned a gym. He was into bodybuilding. He's into fitness. So while I don't fully, I haven't been in the situation where it's been a huge struggle. I've had other vices, I've had other demons in my life that I've struggled with, but food and weight loss hasn't been one of them. So it's kind of easier said than done, and I at least I understand that much.
Yeah.
But it is making it to where that's not you need another coping mechanism. Whatever that is. If it's meditation, if it's going for a walk, if it's something to where it doesn't become this spiral where you give up on yourself, you go back to the eating, you go back and then you look in the mirror, you hate yourself, you don't like that you give, and that's the comfort. And
Yep.
I think that's a huge spiral that's as a coach, as a trainer, man, if you have a client in that situation, it's a really difficult thing. You said it's not just telling them what to eat and how to work out physically, but helping them change their mind and their belief of who they are to get better.
Yeah, it's tough. I mean, I've gone through phases where, I'm a classic binge eater. I can put away a ton of food. I love, Doritos, chips, whatever it is, fast food. I could eat all that stuff, but you get to the point where you look at yourself in the mirror and you're like, I don't look like, I feel horrible. Everything sucks. I hate working out. It makes working out harder. So there is that psychological aspect, from the last few years when I kind of let myself go. Like I started to understand that more, and I'm like, man, why didn't I understand this when I was doing nutrition plans for people? Because I realized then my lifestyle was just set up where I went to work, I went to the store, we had a Hy-Vee right behind us or a Target, go get a chicken over there. You could just eat healthy. Your lifestyle was set up, and whatever money I did have went to either food and my gym membership. So I wasn't really learning anything. I wasn't developing any good habits just because my lifestyle set up kind of this ability to do the right thing. And then when I got out of that, I had the free will of eating whatever I wanted or sitting home or having a bad day and not wanting to do, I'm a reformed CrossFitter is what I call myself. And not being able to keep up with the recovery to keep doing CrossFit was really hard for me. So then when I started letting myself go, eating bad, binge eating, drinking a lot more at night, man, doing CrossFit the next day, I was getting hurt way more, and then you just hated it. I had this whole mental
slips and slips.
Yeah. So I can relate to people on that aspect. So there's always times where I'm thinking like, man, I wish I could almost go back and do nutrition plans again, because I think I could help a lot more people because I can put myself in their shoes.
That's a real thing too. I think you guys were both college athletes, and I think like I see guys that I wrestled with in college that. And the party thinks like, well, how do you kind of, they let themselves go? Like it's like the rest of the population. I think these guys are high level NCAA wrestlers. Like they're going to be in shape the rest of their life. Not always true. And I think part of it is, well, I'm not going to train at that level anymore. I'm not training to compete anymore. I don't have any purpose to do that,
Yes.
And if once you let that, I don't know if you've ever dealt with it, Jordan. You're a young guy. You've kind of just been an athlete. You went from playing sports competitively or organized sport to going into CrossFit and doing that. But I know even family who have had very competitive careers, and then once they stop, it's an identity crisis.
It's 100% an identity crisis.
Slips, and that slip backwards is a difficult thing to recognize and then stop. Like shit. I don't have to go to practice anymore. There's no mandatory weights, and then it's like, well, shit. I was always told I don't even know what to do on my own. You have a lot of like football players, wrestlers, whatever it is. Like, well, I know how to lift weights. We went in the weight room every day, and you say, great. Go in the gym, they're going, well, fuck, I actually never really thought of what I would do if I just had to go in and make it up on my own. Then without that plan, then it becomes too easy just not to go.
Yeah.
And what like going for a 20-minute walk in the morning, if you've been playing, you played 5 years of football at Missouri State or ran track, whatever. Let's say that you ran track, you're a 400-meter runner, and you let yourself go, and you going out for a 20-minute walk probably feels pretty fucking useless if you've been cutting, sub 50 400s earlier in your career. It's a whole mindset shift to like, oh, now I'm just going to be fit and cardiovascular. Like, no, I'm either a race car driver or I'll take the bus.
Yeah.
It's so I think it's hard for someone who's been committed just to, like yourself, to be just, I'm just going to be a normal person, but not normal. I want to be fit. It's a gear change in your mind.
Yeah, definitely. When I got done with football and started working in the stores, the hardest part was, like you just said, going to the gym. And like, I always wanted to be a strength coach, so I had a decent understanding, but even getting myself to do, just regular weightlifting and strength training was more difficult because, I'm not doing hang cleans, I'm not doing anything crazy like I was before. And I've had a couple slips in my life where I let myself go, and that was one of them right after that. But then I found CrossFit, and then the connection there was the competition. Mm-hmm. I could get myself to push myself a lot harder because I was competing. I wanted to keep up with the guys in the gym, and then it becomes an ego contest, with Steve. Love you, Steve. I did have the best abs in the store at one point. But that was also a good thing. There's a little bit of that camaraderie that comes with the competition. But
I think that's why CrossFit is one of the really good things, even if you're just going to doing the class and you get to know people around you and hey, where were you on Friday? We didn't see, that there's some that accountability of a team. I think that aspect of it is awesome. And if that's one of the benefits you get out of it, but it doesn't have to be competitive. If you can take a step back to where I used to be competitive, now I'm just part of this team. I'm in there. Instead of trying to do a 200-pound hang clean, maybe you do 95 pounds and you just move, and you can say, okay, this is what's best for me right now. So I'm not getting injured, but that's okay. I'm also not training to be at peak performance. I want to look good and feel good and be able to move around.
Yeah, definitely. The funny part about that is all the skills guys end up getting fat after college, and then all the linemen end up losing weight.
That is kind of true.
That's how it works. Not all of them. There's still some big ones out there, but I remember a lot of the linemen seeing them now, and they're like, "Oh, wow, you did a really good job. You don't look anything
you
like
do see that a lot. Yeah, I say that sometimes. Like the guys that cut the most weight are likely to put on the most weight, especially immediately following their college career.
Yeah. And then the heavyweights get slimmed down.
I have friends. I was 197, so I'm one weight class away from being heavyweight. And one of my very good friends, you would not think he's a big, strong guy. You would not think he was an NCAA heavyweight. Yeah, he kept himself in good shape. He actually was diagnosed with diabetes, got himself in shape, and never looked back.
Yeah. All right, give me a couple tips you'd give New Year's resolutioners that are just starting out.
Give you just a tip.
Just a tip.
New Year's resolutions.
Give me 3.
I think it's not a goal. It needs to be an uncompromising promise to yourself. I think it needs to be a very bite-sized, extremely definable. Not I'm going to get in shape, but set the action, not the desired result. So instead of I'm going to get in shape, I am going to go for a 20-minute walk in the morning. I'm going to eat 200, whatever your body weight in pounds. I'm going to eat this much. And I use the protein example. I don't want to I like to overemphasize protein. The reason I use protein and not say calories or anything else, you want to count calories, yes. You want to track your macros, yes. But very simply, those who are listening, if all you did was make sure you are getting an equal amount, so 1 pound of body weight to 1 gram of protein, the other macros, unless you're just going crazy and binge eating, are going to kind of fall in line. Right? If you've gone from, most people are way under eating. Most people are eating a quarter of the amount of protein they should. So if you're a 200-pound guy and you've been getting 60 grams of protein a day and you go to getting 200, you're probably going to eat less. If you're really trying to get that, you're going to eat less fats and carbohydrates. That's another
People get miserable when you tell them to do that.
Yeah.
Because you realize how much they undereat.
Right. So just to digress on that for a second. So probably a very simple, I'm going to move for 20 minutes. I'm going to eat my body weight in protein, and I'm gonna get 8 hours of sleep at night. I'm gonna give myself an opportunity for 8 hours of sleep at night. Those three things for someone who is not active, not watching what they eat, watching TV before they go to bed, those 3 things will change your life.
Yeah, I agree, definitely. Before we go, where do you think Ozempic fits into the new age of fitness? I heard a commercial the other day for Weight Watchers. They are now offering Ozempic.
I've been critical.
The Ozempic crowd loves Brian.
I've been critical, and I've been hammered. And I think it's a tool, right? I think it's a tool. I don't think it's for everybody. I think like any drug, it can be abused. I don't think it should be a long-term crutch. However, if you have the other intangibles you need, right? You make this. You know you're going to keep these promises. You're going to eat your protein. You know that. I don't want to shit on anybody for saying, yeah, I'm going to do all that. But instead of it taking 6 months, I want it right fucking now. I want in 3 months. I'm going to do the Ozempic. Maybe I'm going to microdose. I know a very good friend. His wife. He said she got 2 bottles. Went through a bottle and a half. Lost 30 pounds. Quit, and just stayed the course. I think if that's an option and something you want to do, I'm not going to begrudge anybody for taking a shortcut.
Yeah.
If it's a shortcut to where you want to go and you can keep it there, why not?
You may have looked into it more than I have. We're trying to figure out, like, what is it doing to people? Is it removing muscle? Is it killing their appetite? Then they're losing muscle on top of that because, traditional thought would be, okay, if you're consuming enough protein and taking a drug like this, if it's just killing your appetite, it should keep muscle mass. But is it also killing other things like your energy, your ability to go work out? Like, I'm really curious to see, where is the food, your diet going to come into this when a lot of it is just getting, if it is getting killed. I don't know if it is, but again, we've talked about this before. If you don't have those habits instilled and you just do Ozempic and you lose all that weight and you go back to eating crap food, I don't know if you're going to gain it back necessarily.
You're going to gain it back.
But what are those mechanisms that are causing this and a lot of the issues with people? Because there are a lot of bad side effects. Is that because they're not doing the other things with it?
Yeah, I think with any drug that gives you an effect, there is risk of a side effect. And so individual.
Some people get messed up, like stomach issues. Bad.
It slows down the digestion. It does slow down your digestive system. So individual results may vary, right? Yeah. And again, if you take enough of something to get an effect, then there's a possibility of a side effect. But I think that the people are losing weight because they're eating less, right? They reduce their calories and they're eating less. The muscle loss is concerning. There's even been studies that have shown like there's some muscle loss in heart tissue. Mm-hmm. But I think to mitigate that, you might not be able to completely prevent it, but to mitigate that, you're going to have to do some resistance training. I mean, all the things you would do to build muscle if you're not on Ozempic, you're going to need to resistance train. Highly recommend the protein numbers again, 1-to-1, and taking a simple creatine too is great for reducing sarcopenia and muscle loss. So I think if that's the choice you make, don't make it just, hey, I'm going to take Ozempic and let the cards fall where they may. I know I'm going to lose some weight. Have a plan for having some discipline while you're on it, so you lose a minimum amount of muscle mass. Make sure, sometimes it's hard. You got to remind yourself to eat. I've had like, you ever get like colds, flus, whatever, you get sick and you have no appetite, and you kind of have to like, if you still want to train and like, I'm not going to be training, but I still want to maintain my calorie intake. I'm someone, if I stop, if I lose my appetite, if I get sick, I drop weight like crazy. So it's tough for me. Like, I need to make sure I'm eating food. You probably are too.
I lose weight when I stop working out.
Yeah, because you lose your appetite and you drop, right? So, and I kind of know.
I'm down like 7 pounds right now.
Yeah, when everything's clicking for me, I always think I know it because I'm ravished all the time. I'll eat about 4,000, anyway, 38 to 4,200 calories a day. And I'm hungry all the time. So when I wake up hungry and I kind of like, okay, I'm clicking, I'm good here. But there's times when I have to kind of force feed myself. I have to make sure I'm getting meals and timing it and stuff. A meal coming up in about 15 minutes. So
can't miss that.
Yeah. So I think, doing the diligence before, and if you're saying I'm going to use this to lose weight, with the goal obviously to be healthier and a better version of yourself, then do the other things too. Don't just take the drug. Use the drug and then do the things you can to make yourself better, improve yourself while you're on it, and then that same discipline should provide value when you stop taking it and you've got down to your desired weight.
Yeah. If you don't know, get educated about that stuff. I mean, like you said, I'm not gonna hit on anybody for using it, but what are the risks? get with somebody that knows what they're doing or that can guide you while you're doing that type of stuff. So.
Seems like the lap band surgeries and stuff like that. I look at it as just a non-invasive form of that because, when you're going in, you're having your stomach shrunk and ultimately what's happening when people lose weight like that. They just can't eat as much. They don't have the same appetite, but without the discipline, even those people, and they go through a lot of preparation before to qualify for that surgery,
Yep.
and it's still only like 45% effective because people they get back to it and their stomach expands and they keep going and here they are because they didn't develop the tools for long-term prosperity. So I think I look at Ozempic as a less invasive form of a surgery like that, and the same rules apply. If you go back to what you were doing before, you're gonna have the same result. Unfortunately, with both those types of either the surgery or the Ozempic, and I've said this before, this is what I've got hate on for, is you reduce the amount of muscle you have. So you lose the weight, but you reduce the amount of muscle you have. You go off the drug, you start eating like you did again. You have less ability to burn these calories you're taking in because you've reduced your muscle mass, and that's your calorie burning engine. So you're going to get back to the same weight you were before, but you're going to be a fatter version of the same thing if you're not careful. And that should scare the shit out of you. You should do everything you can to mitigate that.
Yeah, people don't understand the positive effects of carrying as much muscle mass as you can. Not saying you have to get to a bodybuilder, but like, what's the optimal amount of muscle a person should carry?
Yeah, everybody's different, but I think muscle is your longevity organ. Everybody should be trying to build and maintain muscle mass throughout their life.
Yeah, definitely. Well, cool. Should we get back to work?
You guys are working?
I was going to.
Learn
Playing
something new
tonight.
every day.
Depends on the day.
Yeah. All right, let's get out of here.
Thanks, guys.